from all the different things going on in Hollywood. Just to give you a preview, today we are talking about some Star Wars. There was a new Lego Jango Fett Starship model that somebody put out, which I thought was really cool. We'll dive into that a little bit. There's a lot of news on the side of DC, of course. We're talking about the Superman prequel novel. Yeah, we're gonna get something before the movie, and it's gonna give us a better idea of what the metropolis that we're gonna get introduced to kind of feels like. Who are these characters in this world that Superman inhabits? So we'll talk about that. We also have to talk about Adam Scott potentially predicted the existence of Severance a long time before the show even existed. And of course, on the Marvel side of things, we have to get into maybe they should consider passing the torch for Iron Man onto Rhodey. Wouldn't that be a good idea? And then of course for Andor, the show starts its second season really soon. Basically the showrunner, Tony Gilroy, he's been talking about how that wasn't always a guarantee. That season 2 basically almost never happened at one point because of how the world of streaming was changing a few years ago. But you know what? Obviously, they got through that hurdle, and here we are. So to do that and so much more, let's get the show started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always number 2.
All right, Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chords.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Well, look at that. Lots to talk about. I'm sure Dr. Doom will get involved in all the conversations somehow. And to do that with me, of course, as always, you don't just have myself, of course. I've got with me John. How are you doing today?
Doing A-okay. Just kind of it. It's not bad, not good. I'm fine. And not bad. Don't worry about me. I'm good.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, look, we've got a bunch of stuff to dive into, so let's get into it straight away. The first thing I mentioned in the preview was, hey, look, there is the question, because obviously in Doomsday we're getting RDJ back, but he's playing Doctor Doom with Avengers Doomsday, so we don't really know if we're ever gonna see him as Iron Man again. Although that photo that we got the other day, there were some theories going on the internet that, hey, maybe that's a version of Tony Stark as Iron Man. You know, maybe like in his world, the Avengers lost to Thanos, and you know, he recovered, but you know, they never quite were able to do the whole time travel heist and everything. So maybe there's a version of the character there. Maybe that is a Tony Stark instead of a version of
but
Ron
he
Doom.
looks way too much like Doom. You got the green cape.
The green. No, I'm just saying,
silver.
If it's the multiverse, you know, you can, you know, it's all about variations, right? I'm just saying, like, it's not impossible considering how the rules of the multiverse work. But the point I was trying to make is, hey, so far, it doesn't seem like Marvel has been pretty adamant. RDJ was like, hey, you look, we're done with Iron Man. Tony Stark's your character arc is completed. I mean, that whole scene with Iron Man and snapping his fingers, and basically, you know, destroying Thanos' army. That whole thing wasn't even originally part of or meant to be part of Avengers Endgame. It was added in later. Like, he had to go back to the set and basically film on the same green screen set across from where he shot some of the scenes for the original Iron Man movie, which was pretty ironic. So point being, again, that it seems like Tony Stark's Iron Man is not going to be coming back to the MCU anytime soon, if at all. So who should take on that mantle? Obviously, the Ironheart show is coming up soon this year, and
but nobody gives a fuck about that.
No, exactly. But exactly, that's not something that most people have cared about, and to maybe that some of that is valid because the character of Ironheart in Black Panther or Wakanda Forever was just not all that interesting. It felt a little forced, and it felt like they need to introduce the character somehow, and they just rammed it in the middle of that story. At least to me, that it felt like that. But John, we have also talked about how Armor Wars, which was meant to be Rhodey's standalone at first TV show, then potentially a movie, that's been on the ice. It seems like for a while now because with how bad Secret Invasion was, and all the stuff that Rhodey was involved in.
And with that, you got to kick some ice, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have that sound effect. Sorry. I have this one. Sorry, I have that one, but I don't have the other one today. But anyway, so maybe they can bring back James Rhodes. Is he Colonel James Rhodes, or what's it? I forgot what his rank is last time we checked. But it's maybe if they aren't doing Armor Wars the way that we think they're going to do, or maybe that project is indeed canceled, we just don't know it yet. Why not just let him take on the mantle of the MCU's new Iron Man? I mean, like going all the way back to next time, baby, and to I'm here. Like it's let's just move on. Let's deal with it. Move on. Like, and then when they first introduced Don Cheadle, all of that to now, it feels like the most natural fit, where he clearly has the ability to rock an Iron Man suit anyway as War Machine. We have seen that. In fact, as this article from the Nerdist pointed out, John, in the comics, James Rhodes was Iron Man before he ever became War Machine. Like, and obviously the comics are the comics and the movies are the movies, so you can't necessarily look at that and be like, okay, well, if it happened in one, why can't it happen in the other? But given that Marvel has already, got Falcon graduating to the role of Captain America with Anthony Mackie, even though that's
also,
a little different.
I love how in the comics, like, how unrealistic it is. It looks like he's wearing like metal clothes, like the way that he's drawn, and he's like just like taking off his boots. I don't know. It makes me laugh.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That completely changed when they made those Iron Man movies. Did you remember like all the gears and everything, all the shots of the Iron Man suit coming together completely changed everything. Like everybody wanted their graphics to look and sound like that.
Walked in on me doing.
But okay, so the question being, hey, even more so than the Captain America transition, where you went from having, of course, Steve Rogers to now, why am I forgetting the name? Sam, what's his whole name? Sam Wilson as Captain America, where one had the super soldier serum and was a man out of time, and the other one, he's a black man in the 21st century trying to take on the mantle of Captain America at a time when America is incredibly polarized.
Right.
That versus here, where Rhodey was basically already Iron Man, except he was called War Machine, and the suit was different. And obviously, he doesn't have the same attributes. He doesn't have the intellect of Tony Stark, but he has, the military training background and top secret clearance and all that stuff. And he's already basically been Iron Man as like the other Iron Man. Why not just become the Iron Man moving forward? I suppose. Is this a fair question to ask, John? That maybe James Rhodes, like, do you think he would be a good fit to become like that new Iron Man in the MCU moving forward?
As long as he's not a Skrull, then it should be okay. But remember that fucking stupidity. Remember when a stupid fan theory became canon? Good times. But yeah, this this could be good, but considering the controversy when Sam Wilson became Captain America, I don't know, maybe just let him do his own thing. Would it be cool? Yeah. Would I like to see it? Sure. But I think with the amount of controversy, let's limit what black guys enter roles that have been accompanied by white men, because then the racist assholes are going to come through the woodwork, which is a shame. I don't want to see those assholes win, but it's like that's always what it's going to boil down to, and that's a shame. That sucks.
But you know what? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying.
But no, I'm just saying it sucks, and it should, would it be nice? Sure, yeah. Nobody cares about Riri Williams. And we know John Cheadle well, even though after like, oh, he was a Skrull, but now he's he's a-okay. So
Well, I
yeah,
mean, the way
I
they make
think
it
I think it
sound
could
is
work. I think it
weird,
could
like,
work, but
you
like
know? Yeah.
there's always going to be controversy when it comes to
'Cause
that thing.
to me, I'm like, we should never blink in the face of, discrimination, racism, anything like
Right.
that. So I think from that perspective, that shouldn't be the reason for why you don't
That
do
shouldn't
it.
be the reason. No.
The other thing I was gonna mention is you could take the events of Secret Invasion with they found Rhodey as one of the people who was kidnapped and then replaced by a Skrull. Obviously, yeah, when people talk about it, the people that mostly talk about it, oh yeah, he was a Skrull, as in he was the Skrull. It's not like Rhodey betrayed his country and became a Skrull.
No, I know.
Skrull. It's his character was kidnapped and then somebody else took his place. So what I'm trying to say is maybe because we talked about how with Anthony Mackie's Captain America and especially in the new movie Brave New World, the problem seemed to be it felt more like a sequel to the Incredible Hulk than it felt like the first Captain America movie with Anthony Mackie stepping into the role. And whereas they should have kept the story more grounded to his personal problems and struggles and had a story that was built around him, it seemed like the story was more built around the Red Hulk and Thunderbolt Ross, and then Captain America just happened to be the available hero of the moment to take care of that problem. Whereas here, I think if you go about it a little bit differently and not stick Rhodey in a movie that feels like, I don't know, insert random forgotten Marvel villain here having a resurgence moment kind of situation where Rhodey just happens to be the guy who needs to clean that mess up. Instead of doing that, maybe what they should do is make the story much more internalized, because if you remember, the first two Iron Man movies were very much about Tony Stark and his inner struggles, with the second one being all this allegory on alcoholism, without actually being about alcoholism, but addiction in general, and the first one obviously being a struggle with like where does his heart lie. I mean, I'm sure that those plot points will be revisited if indeed the Victor Von Doom that RDJ is playing is meant to be like some variant of a Tony Stark, or maybe a Tony Stark was a variant of Victor Von Doom. So then maybe what they can do, if James Rhodes, Colonel, whatever his rank is, basically Rhodey takes over the role, make that story about his struggle to prove to people who don't believe, trust him anymore, that he is himself again. And then as part of that, he can earn the mantle of becoming Iron Man, because I can imagine that the U.S. military and whoever is the owner of the War Machine armor is not going to trust him with that after he comes back from that situation, even though again it wasn't like he was the Skrull, somebody else was posing as him and that person was the Skrull. So that story, if they can take what was obviously a ridiculous twist of fate in Secret Invasion and turn that into potentially a great storytelling opportunity, I think they can make a great Iron Man movie where again Rhodey could really earn his stripes. It's just hard to think about like them doing that anytime soon, John, because right now when they have RDJ coming back, the last thing you want is somebody else stepping into the role, and then people will make direct comparisons because there's RDJ across the screen playing a different character, and it's like like it's one thing when Chris Evans is like, I'm done, and then Anthony Mackie becomes Captain America. That's the whole reason why I think it's very much not likely, or that we're gonna see a peak of his prime Captain America run into a peak of the current version of Sam Wilson's character, who's also Captain America. I don't think Steve Rogers from when he was still Cap is going to run into him. Maybe an evil version or something, but you're always you draw the comparison because now you're pitting them one against the other. So I don't think it's a good idea to do it for like Doomsday necessarily, or maybe even Secret Wars, but maybe moving forward beyond that, because I mean Don Cheadle isn't in a rush to relieve the MCU anytime soon. Do you think that would potentially work if they did go in that direction?
I think it could work. I think it could. It's just going to be faced with a lot of people not wanting it, but I think it could work. It's just let's hopefully maybe if this is like the continuing like evolving MCU, like they can learn the mistakes from Brave New World and be like, okay, let's not do that. So if we do introduce Rhodey as Iron Man, then we can do it right. So when we failed Anthony Mackie, we can make, Don Cheadle this proper character. If he wants to do it, that is. If he doesn't want to be Iron Man, then like don't make him. But like, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think this would be a situation where if they approach it, they can't do it right now because everything going on with the Avengers movies, but they need to make it a story that's about Rhodey. It can't be a story that's about Thunderbolt Ross or whatever other threat. Like that can't be the primary focus. Like it needs to feel like an origin story, with which Captain America: Brave New World somehow didn't feel like, because they thought everybody went and saw the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and they treated that as the origin story, which we have seen. You cannot rely on a Disney Plus show to set up a Marvel movie. Most people, a lot more people see the movies than they do the shows. So that experiment has failed time and time again. But anyway, moving on to the next thing, John, talking about Kevin Costner. He's working on a new, I think this is a documentary called The West, on History Channel. It's got a new premiere date, and the trailer was out. I don't know if you had a chance to check this out, but it looked pretty cool to me. What did you think about it?
Could be interesting. Not really a big documentary guy, and I know Kevin Costner is obsessed with West epics, whether it's real or not real. So, cool if this, he enjoys it. Like he likes talking about this shit. He was in Wyatt Earp. He was in Yellowstone. He was in the American Horizon saga that got fucking nixed because nobody liked it. And now he's doing this.
He also had a whole documentary series on Fox Nation, by the way.
That's not surprising.
Which was also like a Western based kind of thing. Like it's all about America, the American
I'm
West.
sure it could be interesting.
West, yeah.
If it keeps up his hobby of West paraphernalia and memorabilia and that kind of thing, then
that seems to be his personality.
Yeah. Instead of war, it's the West.
It's the West. Yeah. It's that's
hey, it could be interesting.
Course, that's probably why he was cast as Pa Kent.
Sure.
In the first place. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. I thought it was interesting. I'll
it
just
could
have to wait and see what it
again.
I'm
not a big documentary guy unless it like really shines.
We will talk about Superman, the Christopher Reeve story soon, being a documentary. I think, or did we actually talk about that already? We might have talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, we talked about it. Last year.
Right, but there is I think it's the Peabody Awards. Let me see, where is that? Isn't that right?
Gotcha.
It's connected to that because I think it's one of the nominees potentially to be honored at the Peabody Awards. So we will talk about that later. Anyway, so Andor creator Tony Gilroy talks about the challenges of following up season 1's rapturous acclaim. Of course, there's a lot that's happened since the first season was worked on, and obviously now they've worked on the second season and the show is coming out days from now. But the labor strikes that happened in Hollywood shut the show down for a while, as it did every show. Then, if you guys remember, a couple of years ago, there was this huge, downturn in Wall Street's confidence in streaming, which basically meant like all these streaming companies were like, we can't just coast off of announcing rising subscriber numbers anymore. We actually have to make money. We actually have to be profitable. And so every company started to pull back. Disney Plus was like, we're not going to greenlight everything. Netflix still greenlighting everything. But most streaming services started to pull back, and that potentially could have been a death knell for a show that's very expensive to produce, that uses a lot of practical sets like Andor, to potentially not have gone to greenlight for a second season. And then again, Tony Gilroy also in this interview, which I highly recommend you guys check this out in The Hollywood Reporter, he talks about how there was a logistical challenge to Andor season 2 because essentially he's making like 8 movies in 5 years at this point, considering that the first season felt like a long movie. The new season feels like 4 or 5 movies because like each 3 episode chunks are like its own thing, and then they do a time jump. And then of course he also was the one who did a lot of work on Rogue One. So as he brings this whole Rogue One Andor saga to a close, John, we're getting a 12 episode new season coming out in a few days time. And he did this interview, and I thought there were a couple of interesting quotes in there that I wanted to kind of quickly point out. He talked again. I mentioned that he talked about the labor strikes and everything, but then he as far as in making it happen, ultimately he said that, give credit to Lucasfilm and Disney for not pressuring him to insert the most storied Star Wars characters into the fold, like all the member berries, as it were. He said, on the creative side, I will never have an experience like this ever again. It's just amazing that they trusted us and they backed our play all the way through. So I know we talk about Star Wars, like of late, they seem to be coasting off of cameos and everything, and they can't seem to get their shit together otherwise. But Andor has been like, a shining light in what otherwise feels like a desert of creativity over at Star Wars oftentimes. Are you surprised that Disney didn't want Andor to feature, I don't know, like an Obi-Wan Kenobi, or actually no, would it have Obi-Wan Kenobi because it takes place after, no, it takes place after yeah, it takes place before the original trilogy, so it would have Obi-Wan, right, potentially, because Obi-Wan was around, he was just in exile. So yeah. I mean, none of those characters obviously make a cameo. It doesn't look like they'll be in season 2. So
No.
Are you surprised it didn't force that onto Tony Gilroy? They were just like, do your thing.
Yeah, just do your thing. Like, they actually fucking learned from the mistakes of the past and actually let him do what he wanted, and they got what is considered one of the best Star Wars products of all time. So that's something, I guess.
I mean, to me, I think it's the best thing Star Wars has ever done, period. And that's my opinion. But it's I think it's that damn good. Speaking of Tony Gilroy, he did say he, since he has been working on the Star Wars for like the better part of a decade now, he's excited to move on to doing other things. I mean, he might come back to Star Wars in the future, but as of right now, he doesn't have any plan to do so. He's going to be working on what's going to be an Oscar Isaac-led cellist movie called Behemoth. And he's hoping that, coming off of what hopefully will be a successful season 2 of Andor, he can, gain a lot of hopefully support from the fans and audiences, for that movie. So Tony Gilroy, if you guys are interested in this interview, check it out on the Hollywood Reporter. Andor, I cannot wait. I think I'm going to do episode reviews on the channel. Let me know if you guys are interested on that, in watching those reviews. We're going to be getting 3 episodes a week, so there'll be so much to talk about. Get in the comments down below, let me know about it. But the next thing, John, I wanted to quickly bring up, Hollywood is at risk of becoming, quote unquote, the next Detroit Auto, and all the insiders over in Hollywood, they're sort of just raising and voicing an alarm that, hey, we need to fix this problem because production's moving away from LA. It's not just because of the fires that happened earlier this year. This is a more systemic issue that's going to continue to happen if we do not expand the, all the production tax credits and just pass bills into law that make it easier and give studios and other, production companies more of an incentive to film in LA. There was a whole event for this on Monday night this week. And at the event, it was a full crowd, and it was part of the stay. I think it was part of the Stay in LA campaign. And one of the people at the event, Noel Stemmen, who's a member of that Stay in LA campaign, they were saying this is not hyperbole to say that if we don't act, the California film and TV industry will become the next Detroit Auto. And what's really interesting here is they pointed out something that I don't think we have discussed here on the show, because we talked about this earlier in the week, but not with this context. Adding into what they already said, and this was at Evergreen Studios, where they had a completely packed crowd of obviously people who work in the industry are concerned about fewer opportunities to get work. That, hey, the studios don't care where they do the work, they'll do it anywhere. They're still producing shows. What a lot of our colleagues simply don't understand is that this is a middle class problem. The studio heads are going to bed in Bel Air no matter what. This is not a tax giveaway. This is a job program that is keeping people in their homes. Talking more about the Stay in LA campaign to get better tax credits to allow more productions to happen out in LA. John, what are your thoughts on this? The idea that, hey, it's not like production has slowed down a ton in general. Obviously, it has a little bit, but that doesn't have to do with the location. There was a strike and there was a pandemic and all those things. But yeah, the fewer shoot days in LA than ever before has more to do with the fact that, I don't know, like Vancouver, Chicago, Atlanta, New Orleans, Boston, even New York to a certain degree, like all of these, and as well as abroad, like they're just making, all these cities and countries are making it easier for studios to film there than in LA. Like, what do you think this is something that LA needs to really worry about and fix quickly, or will they become the next Detroit Auto essentially?
Yeah, I think they need to, if they really care about doing this and they really need to buck up their you know, their shit and pull their shit together, then yeah, they do need to take it a little bit more seriously. They can't like keep pushing away the problem, because eventually there isn't going to be like a Hollywood ecosystem business industry anymore, because everyone would have left. I mean, people are already leaving because of like the fucking taxes and how expensive it is living there. So people are leaving in droves anyway. So it would make sense that, you know, Hollywood would, like, the way it's going, like Hollywood is gonna fucking buck up and go to fucking like Austin or Dallas or something. Like it seems like that's almost the case here. Not obviously that's like really pushing it, but I think yeah, I think they really need to see that this could be a problem, and I feel like they need to take it a little bit more seriously if they want to keep Hollywood where it is and have it be this thriving ecosystem that it has been for decades.
Yeah. I mean, it is definitely concerning because obviously, you know, filmmaking, storytelling is the biggest industry in LA, and for that to be drying up like, you know, water on a desert plain, it's not, it doesn't feel good, I'm sure, for anybody out there who's looking for jobs, like, and works in the industry, like as part of the unions. So yeah, hopefully the new laws that they're looking to pass will improve those conditions so that more studios and production companies are want to shoot stuff there because it becomes more affordable. Also, some of the laws I know from personal experience of, like, you know, trying to get permits and stuff to film in LA. It's just more complicated. It's more work. It's more expensive. It's more costly than it is in some of those other cities, like even like Philadelphia, and you talked about Charlotte, like, you know, all these other hubs, Austin. So yeah, hopefully the, you know, the new the work that they're doing is going to help to make things more production friendly, I suppose. But we'll see. This is an ongoing story. We'll of course keep following it, and you guys let us know what you think about this in the comments. Do you agree that Hollywood is at risk of becoming the next Detroit Auto if LA's production laws and incentives don't improve quickly? So with that in mind, John, we have to talk a little bit about Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. I found this article in Variety, so if you guys are interested, because if you guys want to know everything that is publicly available as of now about this film, because there is a lot that we know, and yet there isn't a lot there's also a lot that we don't know, because we haven't seen a single trailer for it. There's a lot of, you know, behind the scenes set photos that we come across every so often. But there were a few details in here which I thought were interesting. I mean, Christopher Nolan, of course, is working on The Odyssey, which is based on a classic piece of literature by Homer. It's divided into 24 different books, preceded by the Iliad. So it, you know, I'm not sure if this movie is going to tell the entire 10-year journey story of Odysseus after the Trojan War. I don't even know if it's going to start with the Trojan War. Maybe it does, because we've seen like that big Trojan horse on set at one point. The Odyssey was, I believe, adapted before, so it was like, oh brother, where art thou? So like we have seen it done before differently, but never maybe quite in the style that Christopher Nolan wants to do. Obviously they've only released like that one official photo with Matt Damon dressed in what some people are saying is not historically accurate, but like, you know, we've talked about that before.
Yeah, but it's also like a fucking, like, it's also a fucking movie, like,
you know. Yeah, I get that. It's not like you don't go to watch Gladiator or Gladiator 2 because it's historically accurate necessarily. The cast of this movie is just absolutely stacked, from Bill Irvin, who voiced one of the AI robots in was it HAL, or I think in Interstellar. You've got Elliot Page in there.
HAL is 2001.
Oh, sorry, no, Tall, whatever.
Whatever it is. I don't remember most of that.
But you know, you had Elliot Page, Himesh Patel, who have both been in previous movies with Christopher Nolan, like whether it's Tenet, Inception. So you have a lot of people, and these aren't even the biggest stars. Mia Goth, John Leguizamo, and then the biggest stars. You know, you talk about Robert Pattinson. We have
Tom Holland,
Lupita
Nyong'o. Yeah, Cosmo Jarvis, who's been in a couple hits this year already. So
yeah,
you know,
I mean, they've also got Benny Safdie, John Bernthal, Charlize Theron, Anne Hathaway from The Dark Knight Rises. Holy freaking Christ. It is
You got
crazy.
Spider-Man, the Punisher, and Catwoman, and Batman fighting the Odyssey. There we go.
By the way, the robot was TARS.
TARS.
TARS, which stood for something. I forget what it stood for.
Yeah,
But anyway.
I don't fucking remember.
So they haven't put out any footage yet, but the chief of distribution at Universal was at CinemaCon, and he mentioned that, hey, this movie will be a visionary, once in a generation, cinematic masterpiece that Homer himself would quite likely be proud of. And he described it as a propulsive and modern and with an out of this world twist, which I hope, well, it's Christopher Nolan, so I'm sure he'll do a good job of it. If it was M. Night, then I'd be worried if he was talking about an out of this world twist. But yeah, John, what are your thoughts on everything we know so far about this movie? Does this strike you as the next movie to win every award at the Oscars and at the SAG Awards for the ensemble cast and all? And they're using new IMAX film technology, but it seems like every time IMAX has something new to try out, they'll give it to Christopher Nolan to try. So it seems like they're doing the same thing here. What are your thoughts on where this movie is? Will this become like the biggest thing at the cinema next year when it comes out?
I hope so. We're definitely going to have Tom Holland-a-thon with this and then Spider-Man a couple weeks later. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're filming this everywhere. They filmed it in Sicily. They filmed it. They went to, I think they were in Greece. Like they were on Goat Island, which was crazy. Like it's actual location in the book itself. Yeah, Morocco, Scotland, Ireland, the UK. This is gonna film everywhere, and in Italy you have Fremantle Company, one of their what do you call it? Like one of their divisions. Let's call it Wildside is working on it. Emma Thomas, Christopher Nolan's life partner, of course, and the producer who won the Best Picture Oscar for Oppenheimer. She's again working alongside him for this one. They've always worked together. Do you think this movie has the potential to outperform the box office of The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, which were the two highest grossing movies Christopher Nolan has ever done?
We'll have to see. I mean, maybe he has. I mean, he's in his O phase now because he had the I phase. Interstellar, Inception. That all that stuff. Now he's in the O phase, Oppenheimer, the Odyssey, so we'll see. I think it obviously, it'll probably be very faithful. It's probably gonna be like 6 hours long. It's gonna be like and they're like, oh, Nolan, do you want to split this into 2 movies? No, only fucking pussies do that. I'm gonna fucking make it one 6 hour long practical epic, and you're gonna fucking like it. If I swear, if like time travel existed, Christopher Nolan would have gone back in time to film the Odyssey while it was actually happening. I know it didn't actually happen, but I'm just saying, like, he would actually get people be like, he would learn the language. He's like, what's that? No, don't worry about it. He would fucking film it easily.
He would totally. I totally believe it. Yeah, he would definitely do that. But dude, this movie also releases in July 17, 2026. Which July is the same month that Oppenheimer came out in, when it did the year that it came out. Dunkirk, Inception, and The Dark Knight all came out in July. So Christopher Nolan is not a stranger to any of those big blockbusters coming out in the middle of the summer. And obviously Oppenheimer, for a movie that released literally alongside and an opposite Barbie as part of the Barbenheimer phenomenon, it went on to make still almost $1 billion itself. So I wonder how much money the Odyssey is going to make. It's going to be very interesting, guys. But hey, if you are interested, again, this article is it's got all the details, everything we know so far about Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Go check it out on Variety. I thought it was very interesting to look into. But John, now we have to move on to what is the quick hits part of the show. So let's do that, shall we? Why don't you find that music? I'm going to load up the quick hits here, and we can then dive right into it. We got some fun stuff on today's show. All right, there we go. So we got the quick hits music. Let's get things started with the first one. Apparently, Adam Scott might have predicted or even pitched the idea of Severance all the way back in Parks and Rec in 2014.
Be good to keep our home life and our work life separate. Like, we only talk about work stuff when we're at City Hall, like a firewall system.
Yeah, okay, that's smart. Home is home and work is work.
I've seen this so many fucking ever since this show came out. I've seen this so many fucking times, and it still makes me laugh. I never watched Parks and Rec. I don't watch Severance, but you know, it's still funny.
I love the comment. Severance should have been called Marks and Reintegration, which was like, that is perfect. Because if you okay, so you don't watch the show, but like in Severance, Adam Scott's character is Mark, and then his obviously his Audi, the real person he's got a full name, Mark whatever, and the innie is called Mark S because they don't give you the whole name, and so there's like two, you know, they both are Marks, and then reintegration is like a way for the two personalities to merge together. But anyway, you'll get the joke once you see the show. But I thought this was hilarious. Speaking of hilarious, I found like a bunch of MCU actors doing impressions of other MCU actors, which I thought was just classic. So and some of these are fantastic. Tom Hiddleston does a amazing Owen Wilson.
Ages a day. Right now I'm writing.
Oh, that's the wrong video. Hold on, I'll find the right.
Oh, I think it's really great. You know, I like playing the character, and he's really nice, and you know, I really had a fun time. And you know, Robert Downey Jr. has been so helpful and nice and kind, and you know, I just think he's great.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Just mind blowing. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god.
Dude, here's the deal. Sure. Sure. Why not? Sure. Of course. Sure. Mexican, whatever.
Oh no! I'm from now. I go back in time. There's a time machine, and it's kind of cool, and it's kind of woody, and it's kind of awesome.
I'm Spider-Man. Whoa. I'm Spider-Man.
I do that all the time. No, I have a package for Tony Stank.
It's not this simple. It's not your natural state. It's the unspoken truth of humanity. You crave subjugation. The bright lure of freedom diminishes your life's joy. Basically, what I'm saying is...
And cut. That's awesome.
Oh, hi guys. Hi. Yeah, it's time. I'm really excited to be here. Talk to you. No, I can't because otherwise I'll admit secrets. So, yeah, they closed me down with this bit of foil.
Hey guys.
No, I can't say my name.
Gamora? Hey guys, Crew Pratt here.
I'd like to have your Big Mac, please. And some fries. And a shake too. And some chicken McNuggets. And while you're at it, can I have a quarter pound of cheese? And a fillet of fish if they still do those. Thanks.
Oh, well, I know. I mean, I was expecting you to. I mean, that's all I would expect. I mean, I didn't mean to. I don't mean to assume, but
by the way.
I was hoping you would ask me to do Jeff Goldblum.
You should just watch Ragnarok.
Claire's mom made me feel a hooter.
Like, I know you're not a fan of Ragnarok, but you should only watch the parts where Jeff Goldblum's character is in it, because it's amazing. It's so fantastic.
Well, yeah, Jeff Goldblum is fucking amazing in fucking everything. Why is that even like a thing? Like, of course. Like, yeah, no fucking shit. Anyway.
It's hilarious. I love it. Anyway, Thunderbolts putting out what looks like a stat card for the Thunderbolts, including, of course, Bucky Barnes. He's apparently one of the disposable delinquents. And in a world without the Avengers, Bucky Barnes has discovered a new way to fight for good as a congressman of Brooklyn. When he gets elected, he's probably going to be the oldest congressman ever elected to the office. So the question they ask here is, which branch of the military that James Bucky Barnes served in World War II? John, which branch did he serve? Was it the Army? Was it the Marine Corps? Was it the Navy? Was it the Army Air Corps?
I thought it was the Army.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Army. It is the Army. All right, well, you guys can get your hands on that soon, I'm sure. It looks fantastic. I would collect that if I could. But hey, Marvel Studios, one of the executives admitted that MCU fans indeed can be very mean at times.
Yeah, sure. But it's like when you've been like habitually making garbage ass shows and movies for the past 5 years, yeah, we tend to get a little prickly.
Yeah, basically the executive producer Sana Amanat on Daredevil Born Again, like she was talking alongside Darius Skardapan, of course the showrunner for the DDBA, I'm gonna call it. They were like, hey, the fans are mean sometimes because I've been at Marvel for so long, I've seen every reaction, I know how the fan community is, and Sometimes it can be very mean. Well, water is wet. Welcome to the world of fandom, guys. Moving on to the next thing. Nicholas Galtazine, of course, He-Man himself, and Bill Skarsgård. The clown from It. What?
I was saying Nosferatu because that's more
Nosferatu, yes,
recent.
that too. It's set to star together in Netflix's Mosquito Bowl with director Peter Berge. Is that interest you, John, at all?
I don't know what that would be about. But it's a Netflix movie, so it'll probably suck. But like, it's got Bill Skarsgård, and Peter Berg is a pretty good director, so maybe.
It's a game of life and death in World War II. So okay, it's set after the attack on Pearl Harbor, where 4 of America's top college football stars set their fame aside to enlist in the Marines. Okay, as they prepare for the brutal invasion of Okinawa, they play the legendary game featuring some of the greatest players in history, a game that for many will be the last they ever played. Wow. Okay, it's based on a book, a New York Times bestseller, so that sounds interesting. All right, moving on to the next thing. Lauren Linney has joined Kevin Kline and John Toney in MGM Plus's comedy series American Classic. Does that interest you at all, this combination of characters?
I mean, I like Kevin Kline. I think Laura Linney's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever watch this though, because I mean, who fucking has MGM Plus? Does anybody have MGM Plus?
I'm surprised it didn't like roll that into
Amazon. That would make sense.
Like,
because nobody fucking has MGM Plus.
Yeah. Although it used to be called Epix, and when they got bought by, when MGM got bought by Amazon, they renamed it MGM Plus. I don't know. I still wonder why.
Epix. Nobody had MGM.
Why they kept it around? You know what? I have and had Epix, so I for one. Although like there were very few good shows on there. I mean, they had like that Alfred Pennyworth show on there, but anyway. Oscar-nominated Sugarcane and Black Box Diaries, Will and Harper are among the first batch of Peabody nominees. This also actually includes Superman: The Christopher Reeve Story. Remember, I mentioned that. Okay, so there we go. Oscar-nominated documentaries: Sugarcane and Black Box Diaries, hit documentaries, Will and Harper, and Superman: The Christopher Reeve Story. They're all part of the nominees for the 85th Peabody Awards. John, do you pay much attention to the Peabody Awards at all? Is this one that you'd be interested in hearing about?
Maybe, probably not.
Well, I know that if Superman wins anything, we will definitely talk about it. Yep. So there you go. With that in mind, let's talk about a little more Star Wars, shall we? Star Wars Lego unveiled a massive 2,970-piece Jango Fett starship. The set will debut May 1st, just in time for, of course, May the 4th. But those attending Star Wars Celebration in Tokyo, they'll be able to check it out later this week. John, is this something that interests you? Would you want to get this and assemble it for yourself?
I mean, I do love Lego, but I don't really care for Star Wars, so I don't think I would get this. But it does look cool.
It does look cool. Gotta agree with you there. All right, moving on to the next thing. Hilary Farr has exited Love It or Listed with a touching tribute. Of course, she was on this show for the better part of 20 years. And leaving it after her last season in late 2023. I remember watching this show, and I know she's been a part of this forever. I am really surprised that she actually left the show. I guess, it was an unexpected announcement. Does this, I don't know, do you care either way for this one, John? No. Well, I'm sure HGTV fans out there are heartbroken, but
I mean, I remember, I know I watch the show with like my mom sometimes, and it's just ridiculous, but like
it is a bit ridiculous.
It'll live.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna rerun all the episodes forever and ever. So, do you love it or list it?
Spoiler alert: 9 times out of 10, they love it because they're a bunch of fucking losers. That's why. They are the pussies. They don't fucking list it. Like, oh, you did like 3 things we wanted to do, and meanwhile, this house has everything we love. Nah, we're not. We're gonna love it. Fucking stupid.
And they tell you all the decisions were made before they even really started the show. Anyway, so if you read the disclaimers, it completely takes the drama out of it. But anyway, Production Assistants Union Drive got a boost from Bernie Sanders showing up, saying the studios will push back. Now, of course, to give you a bit more context around this, they are trying to expand production assistants unions and like basically get production assistants all over the country to be involved and a part of this and unionize, because PAs are like the entry-level role. in film production. They're also the ones who get abused a lot because they get all the grunt work. And so unionizing obviously will help to hopefully stop the PAs being underpaid and overworked and be just unprotected from just abuse on set. So there was a recent rally for this. Bernie Sanders, of course, one of the big supporters for this, as well as AOC Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. John, what do you think about the idea of PAs getting a union of their own? Of course, we've got unions for like every other skill position in the business.
Yeah.
Why not for
that
the
could
PAs?
That could be very helpful, because I've been trying to, be a PA for years, but it's very difficult. So this could, help with, being part of a union and really getting proper, hours and proper
standardized pay structures, limits on the amount of hours you work, the kind of things you can and cannot do, really just to kind of provide some protection and also benefits. Like when you pay into a union, you get health benefits and stuff. Like, so I think those are all things. Just because it's an entry-level job, the entry-level job in most productions, doesn't mean it deserves to be treated like just a bunch of grunts, like who you can run into the ground and not pay enough money for the job that they're doing. I've worked with a lot of PAs and crews that I've assembled over the years, and I can honestly tell you, having done PA work myself, it's not easy. You're often doing the menial, like small things like getting coffee and moving things around and being bounced around from different departments to like do whatever is needed. So having a union that sort of protects your rights a little bit in a world where in Hollywood a lot people get abused if there's not a protection. It's just the way filmmaking has worked throughout decades, which is why unions exist. It's high time that production assistants also get one of their own. So moving on to the next thing, John, is speaking of Dr. Doom, we started the show off talking about Iron Man and Doom, but Dr. Doom in the comics currently is coming up with a new run with One World Under Doom. And if you go off of the new cover design, it looks like Dr. Doom will be destroying and literally ripping apart Mr. Fantastic.
He'll finally get his dream, and good, Mr. Fantastic sucks. So
yeah,
good for him.
Dr. Doom is a way more interesting character. But who knows, maybe Pedro Pascal will change that up. This I will not show you guys the audio for, but I thought it was a amazing little clip. I'm like, if all baseball was like this, I would totally watch it all the time. It's basically the song from Saturday Night Fever, if you know the dance moves. It's like basically the Harlem Globetrotters.
So like, baseball. What the fuck is this? Is this
it's like the Globetrotters, but for baseball. That's what this is.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes, I was gonna say,
or like, banana ball.
It's definitely. I thought this was like AI at first, and then like
it's not AI. But the most hilarious thing is from this angle, you just see the referee like hitting you with all the booty shaking. That's
honestly, yeah. This looks like a lot of fun. I didn't even know there was like a Harlem Globetrotters-esque baseball team. So
it's called Banana Ball, guys. Look it up. Yeah, this was hilarious. I laughed at this so long. It was great. Well, and with that, we're gonna bring to the end the quick hits, and now we have to move on to other parts of the show. But before we do, let us know what you thought about all the news items, and what did you think about Dr. Doom? Maybe James Rhodes could potentially take on the role of Iron Man in the MCU after the Avengers movies coming out soon. What about the PAs potentially getting a union of their own? All the different casting in front of the news that we had today, as well as of course Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. All the details. Will it make $1 billion finally? The first time it would be for Nolan since the Dark Knight trilogy that a movie could potentially make that kind of money. So let us know in the comments down below. Hit that like button while you're at it. But now we have to move on to the best part of the show each day and every day, and that is, of course, DCU Daily. So welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. And today we have to talk about, of course, a bunch of different news from the set of the movies that are filming out there. I think Supergirl is still in production, and we'll get into what else is out there. Lobo, Supergirl. I'm sure you guys can let us know in the comments. Do you believe that leaked photo of Lobo is real? Have you made a decision there? We talked about that a couple of days ago. We have to get into James Gunn's writing process. There was an old clip somebody dug up I wanted to kind of dive into and talk about that. There's also this funny old, I don't know how old it is, but I found this John Cena commercial. And since Peacemaker is coming out this year, I figured, let's talk a little John Cena, why don't we? To do that and so much more, of course, as always, I've got John. John, what are the stories that you are most excited about?
None of them, honestly, they're all kind of bland. But let's do them.
Yay! Way to put a damper on things. But anyway, that's the story we already talked about. Moving on to the next thing. James Gunn, from a long time ago, you can tell he looks a lot younger. His hair is not white. Talking about his writing process, which, I mean, now that he's the man in charge at DC and he's already written like the first 3 projects in the universe, from Creature Commandos to Superman to Peacemaker, and he's going to continue to write other things because he's prepping another movie or TV show right now. Creature Commandos has a season 2 on the way. I thought this would be very interesting, listen to what his writing process was, because he's described that process hasn't changed over the years. Like, he still does this. In fact, James Gunn himself liked this video, and I found it through his reels, or actually no, through his stories on Instagram. So
pages a day. Right now I'm writing this new screenplay, and I have a basic outline of the 3 acts and what the central characters are learning from the experience of the film. And I know what those emotional beats are. I'm writing from that very, very basic outline 5 pages a day. Doesn't matter if it takes me 2 hours to write 5 pages or if it takes me 15 hours to write 5 pages. I write 5 pages a day. I'm not perfect. Sunday I goofed off and I wrote 1 page. So then on the next day I wrote 7 pages, so, or whatever, 9 pages. Right. Basically, I try to write a certain amount of pages every day.
I know that's the Stephen King philosophy too. He tries to write like 4 pages a day or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good thing to have. Essentially, as someone who's also trying to write a script and isn't finding the motivation, this could be a very good for someone trying to get it, like having like a set, like, okay, don't like try to write the entire first act. Don't try to write half the movie. Just 5 pages. Boom. There you go. Even if it's not good, just like fucking get it out. So you're like, okay, I actually made progress today. So I think that's a good way for, I mean, James Gunn has always been a proponent for young writers trying to get in to the business, and is always very helpful with advice, whether it's like on Threads, Twitter, Reddit. He's always been one to give advice to the next generation of writers trying to get their foot in the door.
I agree with you 100,000%. I think this is one of the things that stops writers the most, is like writer's block, like them not being able to write anything because they're so afraid it's not going to be good. I think it's like what James Gunn does. Keep writing. Like, not every day is going to be great, and you can go back and then fix it later, but keep writing. If you keep writing, it's like everything in your body. It's a muscle, that exercise that muscle. And if you do that, it will get better over time. But if you just stop writing from the fear of writing itself, then that's where you fail. So I really appreciate that and he liked this post. He shared it on his Instagrams. So I think that's indicative of the fact that he still very much believes in that philosophy and follows it with all the projects he works on for DC now. So I'm really glad that we were able to share that. But John, speaking of John Cena did this Neutrogena commercial. I don't know how old this commercial is, but it's pretty hilarious because this is the first time I've seen like a commercial sort of directly address the whole "you can't see me" situation.
I heard from a couple people that he's a total diva.
Like, when the car pulls in, he's literally, they show that, the other guy can't see him. The seat is empty. He walks on the set. Nobody can see him. And I just wanted to kind of bring this in because, hey, look, he's going to be in Peacemaker this year. Do you think with how meta Peacemaker is, that in season 2 they finally, or they addressed it, I don't know if they actually directly addressed it in season 1 at all, but the fact that it's the whole, you can't see me, and he's also a bad guy in wrestling these days. Do you think Peacemaker season 2 addresses the whole, oh, we didn't see you there, or something like that?
Oh, that would be funny. Or they could be like, Peacemaker is brought to you by Neutrogena. Neutrogena, it's the sunscreen you can't see. And then it's just like, and then they're like, and then everyone's like confused, like, what the fuck was that? What are you talking about? He's like, what? I need to pay my bills. Just like, I know Peacemaker isn't like a Deadpool character, but like that could be kind of funny.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think also John Cena's comedic timing is very underrated. The man does comedy better than I think any. Well, you know what? Batista's also pretty good. I would love to see Batista and John Cena cross over, especially in the DCU. Like, they've had.
It'd be funny.
Fun.
No. John Cena and Dave Bautista do a movie together, and it's a comedy, and like The Rock comes in, but like he dies like 5 minutes into the movie, and
Just
then
like the other guys. Just like the other guys.
and then it's just like and then he just like fucks off, and then it's just John Cena and Dave Bautista.
Yep.
Because like The Rock has the biggest fucking ego out of all of them.
Yep.
So that would be fun to see.
I mean, we've seen that twice before in the other guys, and then in was it Furious 7? In Furious 7, he gets beat up by Jason Statham, right? Like, or not beat up, but like, you know, whatever. I think he saves somebody.
Your baby oil. You better hide that big ass forehead.
Exactly. It's the whole daddy's gonna go to work, and then he rips off the cast. He's like, I am the cavalry woman, or like whatever. Anyway, so I'm
What's
sure
real is family.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not a position that The Rock is unfamiliar with, like where he shows up for 5 minutes in the movie and then his character dies or gets injured and then he's gone for the rest of the film. Well, though he does come back at the end of the Furious 7 movie, but anyway. John, speaking of Superman, of course, we were talking about at the beginning of the show today that, hey, it's gonna get a prequel. There is a prequel to this Superman movie coming out. I mentioned this to you pre-show. You were like, "What the hell are you talking about? Is there a prequel to Superman the movie, like the Christopher Reeve Superman movie?"
I was confused because you said Superman the movie, so I'm like, "Oh, like the '78 version? How does that make sense?" And then it was the wording. Don't make me look like an idiot.
No, but it's fair. I mean, that's why we always talk about like Superman 2025 versus Superman the movie because they sound so similar. But anyway.
I mean, yeah, Man of Steel had a prequel comic too.
They did have a prequel comic, which is where we figured out that there was a Supergirl that landed on Earth, I don't know, millions of years ago, however long ago it was, and she even walks out, and that's what explains the empty pod. And
then it was never followed up again, and it was essentially retconned.
Yeah, which made no sense to me whatsoever, because I was like, why? Why would you do that? There was so much potential. Anyway, so the DCU is gone, but with the new DCU, it looks like they're doing it again. They're gonna do what they're calling a prequel junior. So it's not really a full novel, so it's like a junior novel. So I suppose it's not a comic, but it's also not like a full-blown like 600-page novel either. And about this novel so far, what we know, it says, "Take to the skies with Superman" in this original prequel novel based on the new movie in theaters July 11, 2025. Clark Kent is a fresh face to Metropolis, trying to balance his new job at the Daily Planet and his secret identity as Superman and a powerful metahuman, while uncovering a dangerous mystery that seems to tie back to the infamous Lex Luthor. So Lex Luthor's already infamous. Discover how the world's first superhero found his place in his new home in this original prequel novel based on the film. Superman Welcome to Metropolis features an 8-page full color insert with character profiles. So if you get your hands on this, you might be getting some artwork from the movie or photography that we haven't actually seen yet.
I don't care if it's junior. I don't care if it's meant for kids. Fuck it, I'm getting it.
But John, what does it tell you about the Metropolis and the Superman character from this movie that we haven't already found out? Also, Lex Luthor being mentioned there too.
I think it'll show like kind of the origin Earth year one stuff, like where it's like, oh, if people are interested in that, they can get this, but if they're not, then they don't have to, because this is just for like super fans that are like, no pun intended, so that are like really interested in this sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's a cool extra, but overall not necessary. So I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I for one think this is going to be a very interesting insight into potentially some canonical events in the Superman movie that might not get addressed in the movie itself, but this will hopefully fill out some of those gaps that people might otherwise have questions about. But I do, speaking of canon, want to ask you, obviously we talked about how the Man of Steel just sort of just ignored that prequel comic. Do you think with this novel, is it gonna be considered canon to this DCU, or is this, because they say it's based on the movie, so I worry if the events or like the descriptions and stuff like that, whatever the plot is, how it's gonna factor into the larger DCU, if they're ever gonna address those plot points in any of the movies, including the Superman movie this year.
Probably not. I think it's just gonna be like an extra thing. Like I don't think they're gonna. Maybe there might be a reference to it, but I don't think it'll. Like it's like this is gonna be a very dumb fucking. This is gonna be a very dumb comparison, but like it's kind of like when Boba Fett got introduced in the Star Wars Holiday Special, but it's not like they're still gotta reintroduce him in the actual like next movie. They're not just gonna be like assume everybody watch this like fucking TV special. And and it's like, oh, you already know this character. We're not gonna, but no, they reintroduced him properly. I think that's what they're gonna, like have here. Like it's gonna be a movie. It's just like this gonna just be like a tiny extra thing. Like whatever is introduced there, it's not gonna like carry over. It's like, well, we assume you know everything out of this like little fucking prequel comic book thing that we did like 2 weeks before the movie came out. I think they're just gonna have this little cute story of like the origin stuff, and then but like everything in the movie is gonna be reintroduced properly.
Yeah, I agree with
and
you.
I apologize to everyone for reminding that the Star Wars Holiday Special exists. Remember back when that was considered the worst Star Wars thing? Good times.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a different time. Anyway, all right. Well, moving on to the next. I personally, I would also probably get this for myself, and I'm very interested in seeing that the 8-page full color insert that they have there with character profiles, because I'm sure all that will be on the internet as soon as this thing releases. But I just hope that this comes out soon. It's coming out from Penguin Random House, of course, one of the biggest publishers out there. That's not a surprise. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have another one of those Supergirl-esque, things that, whether it becomes canon to the DCU or not, unlike the DCEU, we'll have to just wait and find out. But the final story of the day that I wanted to discuss with you, John, for especially on the DC side of things, in addition to this comic, this prequel comic coming out, I have a question for you now. Like, James Gunn mentioned that we're potentially going to get the trailer at some point in the near distant future. He's kind of non-committal to whether it's going to be on Superman Day or not. Now, depending on when you're watching this, if it does release on Superman Day, then like this is a moot point. But with this prequel story debuting, they didn't really give us a release date. Do you think that Superman Day is the day for this to also come out, or do you think this is something that's going to come out a lot later than that?
I would assume it would come out before. I mean, wouldn't it make sense to have like a prequel novel come out?
No. I mean, it's Superman Day on April 18th. Do you think this comes out on Superman Day? Because they don't give us an official release. Actually, you know what? Right there, it's June 3rd. Never mind. Forget that. It's coming out on June 3rd.
Read the article, Dan.
It's at the very bottom. Why would you put that at the very bottom?
Did you
Whatever.
read through the entire
Whatever,
thing?
man. I literally skipped the 2 lines at the bottom and I missed the key piece of information. You know what? F you guys on the direct or whatever the website this is, because you guys misled me. But you know what, John, while we're here, let me just ask you, do you believe that we're not getting the trailer for Superman on Superman Day? Like, do you think James Gunn's just, effing with us again? Like,
I would love for him to be fucking with us, and then we're gonna get that. But like, I also like a part of me, even though I'm way more excited for Superman, like just for the Fantastic Four to drop the trailer on Superman Day as just like the ultimate power move.
You just want
like
chaos.
I just want chaos, and
right
then, but then Superman can, but then James Gunn can retaliate by releasing the Superman trailer when Thunderbolts comes out. So like, it's like it's like a little like needling a little bit, like a little back and forth. It's friendly competition.
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Good. It's an interesting theory, and I want to believe, and the truth might be out there, but we'll just have to wait and see, because before you know it, it's gonna be Friday, and it's gonna be Superman Day, and we'll just have to see if that's when we get the trailer or not. Yeah, we should do our own version of the intro that's like the X-Files theme. Like, we'll have a shot of like you with your FBI badge, and then we'll just be, and you're like that floating person, like hologram that goes with like the footprint on top. Anyway, sorry. You guys know, you know, like if you know,
Yeah,
like the
I
X-Files
watched
intro.
X-Files. I didn't watch the whole show, but I.
Yeah. The truth is out there. Like, that message kept changing every other season. Anyway, well, guys, that is all we have got for you. Not a big news day. Of course, if there's any other breaking news, we'll be sure to bring that to you. We are here 5 days a week. If you are new, then hit that like button. As always, hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet done so, and then hit the notification bell so you know when we go live with a new show. And of course, drop down in the comments below. Let us know what you think. What are the odds? Are we getting that Superman trailer this Friday? or do we have to wait a little while longer? James Gunn said it might be a beat. It will be a beat because they just gave us 5 minutes of footage, but he also tried to throw us off the scent in December and then dropped the trailer anyway. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But you guys let us know in the comments what you think about that. And until next time, we'll see you on another episode of DCU Daily.